You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright Review.
What's up, creeps? Wow. And welcome to a brand new episode of Brain Stew.
Yeah. We up in here.
A fresh fright review. We're going to be talking about The Cursed, which opens this week on the 18th, a brand new creature feature hitting the big screen. It's been a while since we've talked about one of those, and one of those, Jeremy, that actually is going into theaters,
dude,
which is awesome.
Rare these days to get some creatures up on the big screen, man. We've seen a lot of ghosts and a lot of things like that in recent years. You know, there were a lot of
slashers,
good amount of slashers. You know, a few years back we were getting tons of zombie content, but like monster movies was something we weren't getting a lot of. You know, we the two Quiet Place movies, that was, you know, a breath of fresh air. So it's
for sure.
It's anytime we get a creature feature on the big screen, it's always super exciting. It's one of my favorite subgenres.
Yeah, especially something like The Curse, which we'll be getting to in a little bit in our review, but something that is a period piece. It's actually not set in modern times, so they definitely went out of their way to try to do an old school classic, almost like the Wolfman-esque horror movie, creature feature, monster movie, if you will. But we'll be getting to that in a little bit. But dude, it's been a few weeks since we sat down to record an episode. Since I've been on a podcast stand. I mean, yeah, it's I think the last thing we did, for our patrons, we did our top 10 underrated horror movies episode, which was a blast to do.
That was really fun, yeah.
And hopefully all of our patrons that got a chance to listen to that checked it out. And if you haven't, and you're a patron, go give it a listen. And also, if you're not a patron, for as low as $1 a month, you can sign up and listen to that episode. And of course, get episodes early, exclusive content, all that good stuff we'll be bringing to you on the Brain Stew front. But before we get to the review, Jeremy, a lot of shit has happened in the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
Some trailers, a lot of Super Bowl commercials and shit like that, as always, every year. But before we get to that, though, there was a trailer that you wanted to talk about from one of your heroes.
Man, dude, it's been 10 years since we got a film from Dario Argento, one of the masters of fucking horror, man.
A master.
Dude, yes.
100%.
I love Dario Argento. I love his films. You know, people are quick to always think of the last thing that you've done, right? So it's like, oh, fucking Dracula, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Dracula was not a good film. We get it.
It gets shit on a lot.
It's not a good film. You know, I think he had a lot of problems during the production of that, and things didn't pan out the way that I think he wanted it to. I mean, Justin, you're an artist as well. You know, I'm sure there's been times where you have a song in your head, right? And then when you go to put it together and bring it to life, you're like, you know what? This did not turn out the way that I saw it in my head. And that's when you go, okay, well, that's not a great song. It happens to every artist, I feel like. That was certainly his. But I got to give it to Argento, man. Like, he knows that it was not a good film. He understands that fans did not like it. And at his age, I think he's like 81. He was like, you know what? I'm not going out with this being my last film. Dude, he's been trying to get a movie off the ground for a little while. He had one film that he was trying to make with Iggy Pop, called the.
I think I heard something about that.
Called The Sandman, that he was trying to get off the ground, and it just wasn't happening. And he switched gears and got this movie Dark Glasses off the ground. And I have to tell you, man, watching the trailer, it looks like a true return to form. First of all, he is the master of the giallo films. He is.
That's true.
He is, and
I mean, he really is. I mean, many people may argue that point, but I mean, in most views, he is definitely, like, I mean, at least the most successful, I would say, in terms of box office and name recognition. For sure. He has the most classics under his belt, I'd feel like.
Absolutely. And so watching this trailer, man, I was just blown away because to me it looks like this guy went out there with something to prove. You know what I mean? It's like when a professional athlete retires but then comes out of retirement. Like, they've got something to prove. They've got more left to give, and I feel like that was Argento with this film. Obviously, we haven't seen it yet. Don't know, but it looks fucking fantastic. The gore looks amazing. His daughter, Asia, of course, is in the film. She's in the trailer. Yep. I'm really looking forward to this. But while I was watching it, I was like, what looks different about this compared to previous Argento movies? And it became blatantly evident to me that obviously this was shot on digital, right?
It's 100%. I was just going to say that you can see that clear sheen, and that's something that's not of Argento. When you think Argento, you can see the film grain packed into the definition of the image. There's just a certain feel, especially all of his work in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, the film grain is so evident, but it's so important for the picture, the colors, everything. I mean, that's another thing I saw in the trailer is that I didn't see any heightened use of color, and he may be like pulling back from that, considering that that's something that he made so popular in the late 70s and is now like heavily utilized all the time.
Dude, look at Last Night in Soho. There were so many Argento shots all over that movie with the way that it was lit, 100%. But this one for me, the only thing that made me go, well, that's a little different, is the fact that it is so clear, it is so pristine over the fact that it was shot on digital. But obviously shooting on film is very, very fucking expensive. So
yeah, and at his age, I mean, I could totally understand, in terms of budget as well, why they would just go for digital. But we'll have to wait and see. For me, aside from what I saw, which looked perfectly fine, it felt like Argento, it looked like Argento, in terms of a modern movie. The score will be the most important thing to me, because the scores in all of his movies are like the pinnacle of giallo films and Italian horror, and they're so memorable. They're some of my favorite parts of any horror movies ever. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But I mean, otherwise, it looks like a pretty solid movie. I know a lot of other people are already ready to throw it in the trash, but I'm like, dude, give it an opportunity. He's one of the greatest ever.
Motherfuckers.
Dude,
another thing that I'm like super, super excited about is Sergio Stivoletti, who was, he did the special effects on Demons, on Phenomena. Dude, he's doing the special effects for Black Glasses. So you already know.
That's fantastic.
You already know right there. If nothing else, Argento is the master of gory death scenes. So the fact that Stivoletti is back with him means that we're really, really, really going to get some realistic, grotesque fucking special effects, man. Because I will argue this until my dying breath. Demons has some of the best practical in-camera effects work of any horror film ever made.
Oh, no question.
I would put that and The Thing neck and neck, man. Rob Bottin and Sergio Stivoletti neck and neck for like the masters of grotesque, special effects, practical effects. So the fact that he's back with Argento is really fucking exciting. It means that I think we're in for something that's a treat. And another trailer just came out yesterday. Yesterday was Super Bowl Sunday. I don't give a fuck about football. Not one bit.
I don't either.
More power to the people that are into it. It's not my thing. It's never been my thing. The trailer for Jordan Peele's next film, Nope, has been something that we've discussed heavily, that we've been looking forward to. It was on our list for most anticipated films of this year.
That's right.
And, dude, I woke up yesterday morning not expecting to see it as soon as I woke up. And when I woke up and the trailer was already out, I was fucking ecstatic. And I have to tell you that trailer absolutely did not disappoint whatsoever. I've watched it probably 10, 12 times now. I've gone frame by frame trying to see everything that I can get. And that's how you know.
Oh, you
dude.
dick.
That's how you fucking know. Like, dude, it reminds me of Cloverfield. When they kept dropping those trailers and you're like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? I need to see this. And then, like, they were doing a lot of online content. It was one of the first films that had that really, like, online media promotion.
Like viral
marketing, viral marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this film reminds me of how I felt with Cloverfield. Like, I'm so excited for this, and I don't even know what the fuck it is. You kind of get an idea, like, okay, aliens.
Yeah, that much is very evident.
Now,
Well, even with the poster, I mean, that was the heavy speculation. The shape in the sky with like string. The flag hanging string down. It was like the name, though. How did no one pick up on that prior to the trailer? I saw you post someone, and everyone else has been saying it as well. Not of planet Earth or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
It's.
So I don't know how no one picked up on it before.
No one picked up on it. Now it's like, oh, well, now that silly ass title means something, which is cool. But I mean, dude, it looks creepy. The movie looks creepy.
It's if anything, what the film really needs to do to be successful is make alien movies scary again. It's been a long time since we've gotten a movie. I mean, A Quiet Place movies, those are aliens. Technically, they are. So, and they're scary. But I think there's something about the movies we grew up with. This is channeling that feeling, the Close Encounters, the alien.
Dude, Signs. Fucking Shyamalan Signs, man.
Signs was scary too.
As fuck.
I mean, until you saw now when you watch it, though, the alien is whatever. But I mean, I'm very interested to see where he's going to take this thing. I love the concept of an all African American ranch team out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And
it happening to them there. That's a really interesting concept. So we won't see the normal traditional, like, skyscrapers, getting pummeled into pieces and disintegrated by huge ships. It's going to be, it looks like what's going to be a very small scale, intimate portrayal of aliens in this family in this small town. So that's the most exciting thing to me. And I feel like a lot of people love to shit on Jordan Peele now because Us wasn't the masterpiece that everyone thought it should be. I mean, I liked it a lot. I think the third act was a little bit jumbled and had some problems, but he's still there, man. He's still on his high horse, and he is probably going to deliver a very successful, fantastic movie. And that's the key, man. We need to put our faith in our new horror directors, and he's one of them. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do with it.
I have no doubt that this is going to be his new masterpiece. I can feel it in my gut. I think this is something that he's going to have knocked out of the park, man. It looks so fucking good. It's definitely, at this point, my most anticipated film this year. Like, I cannot fucking wait.
I mean, aside from the Batman, for sure, it's up there for me. But yeah, so that knocked it out of the park for me. Only one thing, though. I mean, before we move on to our review, I really wish they would have teased. I mean, they had like the hand and like you see the top of a head, and I'm like, I could have gone without that. I understand why they put that in because the GA needs to see something. So I appreciate that they held back as much as they did. I just hope that with, the second trailer and TV spots and such, that they keep that mystery there. Like Signs. With Signs, you didn't see any alien at all until you saw the movie. And I think that'd be a very special thing for audiences to wait until you get to the theater to see it. So, yeah. Fantastic trailer. Can't wait to see it.
It was the same thing with Cloverfield as well. You had to go see the fucking movie to see the monster.
You didn't know what the monster looked like.
No.
Yeah. That was fantastic as well. But yep. So ladies and gentlemen, we're here. We're going to be reviewing a brand new movie upon the release of this episode, The Cursed, formerly titled 8 for Silver. Thank God they changed that.
I don't know though, man. Fucking The Cursed is so fucking generic sounding.
It is. Well, there's another werewolf movie called Cursed, Wes Craven's Cursed, which everyone was talking about a few weeks ago because the new Blu-ray is coming out, and no, we're not getting Wes Craven's cut.
We're never going to see that cut, man. It's gone.
But yeah, so this movie comes out on the 18th. And the story is, in the late 1800s, a once peaceful remote country village is under attack, but by who or what, no one knows. Villagers spread rumors of a cursed land, supernatural forces, and even demonic creatures as the disappearances and killings continue. Pathologist John McBride arrives to investigate the danger, only to discover something much deeper and more sinister than he could have ever imagined. And that's the official story.
There you go. So I'm gonna jump in, and when I saw the trailer for this, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was underwhelmed. I was absolutely underwhelmed. This was certainly not something that I was like, oh fuck, gotta see that one. And if I'm being honest, to me, it reminded me from the trailer of Wolf of Snow Hollow, to where I thought it was going to be a fake me out werewolf movie. Like, because in the trailer you see the kid with the silver teeth, and I was like, dude, is this going to be a thing where it's like somebody's going around like biting people and killing people, and
there'll be deaths, but it won't be a real.
Yeah, it'll just be a person that has these animal dentures in, like, to where I spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't seen Wolf of Snow Hollow.
No, full spoilers.
You know, but if you haven't seen Wolf of Snow Hollow, that's the deal with that one. It's a fucking great movie. Go watch that one too. But I when I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, come on, man, because they didn't show any of the creatures in the trailer. It just showed the kid with the fucking silver teeth and some other shit.
Which, god damn it, man, I want a fucking thing of dentures of silver fangs like that. That shit's sick, dude.
Yeah, I know. It looked rad. But yeah, I was like, oh man, like, we're gonna get a fake me out fucking werewolf movie. I want a real werewolf movie. We don't get many of those, and
we almost never do. And if we do, they're not heavily. I mean, Werewolves Within came out last year, but I mean, slowly but surely. But they're not big movies that are going to the movie theaters. For the
real
most part.
Quick, Stephen C. Miller, who he's directed so many things. He directed Automaton Transfusion from back in the day. It was a Dimension Extreme zombie film. He made the Silent Night remake, with the wood chipper and all that shit. So I'm Facebook friends with him, and he announced today that he is making a werewolf movie with Frank Grillo. So werewolf movies are back, baby.
I sure hope so.
Had to throw that out there because I love me some werewolf movies. So when you were like, hey, we have the opportunity to see, a critic screening of this. They're sending us a link to watch this movie. Do you want it? And I was like, okay, sure. It wasn't something that I was like, oh, hell yeah.
I'm like, dude, the poster has fangs on it, though. Come on, bro.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The poster sucked, too, man. The trailer was underwhelming, and the poster sucks. It's like, come on, like, if you really want to draw in the horror crowd, like, should have been a better trailer and maybe, like, not a white poster with just a pair of silver fangs on it. Like, it looked, that was generic, like, Photoshop sloppy shit. But
yeah, I think, I mean, I honestly understand both viewpoints. Us as horror fans that love monsters, what we really want to see on the poster is something brutal, something scary, something that conveys that this movie is a monster movie. Yeah. On the other hand, much like how Joe Dante's The Howling was promoted, 40 years ago, they promoted it as almost like a slasher so that you wouldn't know that it's a werewolf movie. Because honestly, a lot of general audience moviegoers, like for example, my kid who's 18, will her and her friends want to go see a werewolf movie? Probably not. If they're tricked into going to see something they don't know what it is exactly, they might go in. But I agree with you. The trailer was not very good. I was slightly interested in the poster. Yeah, whatever. Leaves a lot to be desired. But the one thing that I immediately noticed when the movie started is it follows in line and looks very much like other Neon movies, which is an Alamo Drafthouse brand, and A24. It looks like those movies to me, the aesthetic, the way that the wide shots were utilized. There's a lot of cool stuff in this movie in terms of the visual look. It's very artsy at times, but also it really goes for the gusto and gives you that classic monster movie feel and tone. I kept going back to, thinking of Werewolf of London or, the original The Wolfman. It was just like immediately getting those vibes for me. I mean, the movie starts off with this huge war scene. Enemy troops are bombing everybody, and this dude gets like bullets pulled out of him, and they find like a silver fang inside him. I was like,
huge ass silver bullet fang thing. Yeah.
I was like, where are they going with this? And the opening made me feel like we were going to see another Warlord. Did you see that movie that came out a few years ago? That zombie movie, Warlord? It was fantastic.
Is it Overlord?
Overlord. Okay. Yeah, that's what it was.
Well, you know what's funny is that,
Jesus, and I'm sober as fuck too.
Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn were an Overboard, and then their son was an Overlord. I was like, man, is that like the multiverse? Like in that form?
He was one of the best things about it. That was the movie where I was like, he could play a young Snake, even though he won't. He
looks exactly like his dad at that age. But yeah, no, I loved Overlord, and I've been watching 1883, which is the Yellowstone prequel. So like, my head's already right there for dealing with like timepieces of that era. So it didn't take long for me to like adapt to the visual aesthetic of that, because it reminded me of exactly how 1883 looks. So watching it, I wasn't sure if I was watching a fake me out werewolf movie, which I would have been bummed about, or if I was watching a real werewolf movie. And I mean, dude, speaking of Yellowstone, is Kelly Riley, that she plays the mom. She plays Isabel Laurent. She's in this movie, which was cool to see her in something different, because she's in Yellowstone and she's amazing in that, and she was amazing in this because she's a great actress. That was super fun. And seeing Boyd Holbrook, man, he's been really fun to watch in this stuff that he's been coming out with. He was in what was the last Predator movie that he was in? He was in
The Predator.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, The Predator. I couldn't remember. I was like, what's the title of the one that he was in?
Well, yeah, it's because there's Predator, there's Predators, there's The Predator. No, I totally forgot. I was sitting there going like, what do I know this dude from? It's been a long time. And then I was like, oh yeah, he was like the main, he was the attempt at our new main hero from that movie. And I liked him in that. And I like him here as John McBride, who's this pathologist with this dark past of losing his child and his wife to a vicious beast.
Yeah. So I mean, once the shit starts hitting the fan, I knew that I was in for a treat no matter what, even if it was a fake me out werewolf movie, when there was the scene where essentially like the settlement people go to these gypsies who own the land, and they're like, you gotta leave. And the gypsies are like, this is our land. And the settlement people are like, nah, fuck that. It's our land. And if you don't leave, we're going to kill you. And they're like, we're not leaving. And there's this, you were talking about the wide shots. There was this devastating and horrific and so sad, dude. Like, these fucking gypsy people, it's a wide shot though, are just getting murked out. Just like bam, 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 just getting killed one by one by one. They're running away. They're fleeing in the woods and they're being chased down. It was such a sad scene. And it made you want for the gypsies to be avenged, right? Like, they got murdered in such horrific ways. Dude, they buried this woman alive after chopping off her son's arms. And like,
did you hear that line though? Did you hear that line where they're like, there's no worth in it, only death? In which she replied, she literally said, you don't know what death is. I was like, oh shit, she's channeling Dr. Loomis in this motherfucker.
I'd like to think that was like a happy, nice little homage.
I have to assume that it was, or else I'll be unhappy.
Yeah. So like, dude, there's a guy, and that was brutal as fuck. The effects, the practical effects of that scene where the dude, one of the gypsy guys, got his fucking like his lower arms like chopped off, and they're shoving hay like down his shirt, and they put
they turned him into a human corpse scarecrow. It was fucking awesome.
It was awesome, and that made for like we'll move on from there. So like, all of a sudden the settlement people were like, well, fuck yeah, we own the land now. Well, this woman had these silver fangs made like dentures, and from what we can gather, what we're told is that it's supposed to be the same silver that Judas was given to betray Jesus. And so she puts a curse on the people that are murdering her entire, gypsy clan. And she gets buried in the dirt under her son, who's been made a human scarecrow. And she gets buried with the teeth. Well, dude, some straight up Nightmare on Elm Street shit happens where all the kids start having nightmares about the scarecrow and nightmares about the fangs that are buried in the dirt. So they all, after school, are like, we're going to go out there. So they go out there and they dig up these fucking silver fang denture things. And one of the kids, his name's Timmy, it's almost like he becomes animalistic once he touches it, and it takes him over, and he puts them in his mouth, and he goes over to the son. The character's name is Edward, who's played by Max McIntosh, and he goes over to Edward and he bites Edward in the neck and like rips his fucking throat out, and all the other kids, they take off running, and, you know, all of a sudden Edward gets taken home, and the doctor comes, and they're like, look, it looks like he was attacked by an animal, but he should be okay, and they leave.
Then in the middle of the night, the kid just walks out. I'm out of here.
Walks out, so then they're like, the parents, they can't find him, so there's like a search party where everybody's looking for him, they can't find him. All the kids had made a pact that they weren't going to talk about the fact that they went out to that field. So they're like, where were you guys? And they're not saying, hey, we went out to the field. So they're looking for him when other people start getting mutilated, like absolutely destroyed. Off. So then they're like, all right, well, there's some type of animal that's out there. And that's when Boyd Holbrook's character, John McBride, comes into the scene, and he's a pathologist. So they're like, okay, like, tell us what's going on. And essentially he's the first one to kind of clue them in, like, there's a beast that's out there, and it's not going to stop, and we need silver. And, like, the reason that he knows about it is, like you mentioned earlier, is his wife and his daughter were killed by a similar beast. So it looks like this is something that, like, maybe the gypsies have control over putting these spells, creating these werewolves. Like, otherwise, I don't know, like, how else, you know, other werewolf attacks have happened. It has to be, you know, just like the title, it's a curse that if done properly can wield werewolves, I guess, like these weird water werewolves. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, no, that was something that was very interesting. I was like, what are we doing here? But I think what we need to talk about probably and get it right out of the way here, because we are doing a horror podcast, and most people listening they're already waiting to hear, if they haven't seen the movie, how does it look? How do they look? How's the design? Is it practical? Is it CGI? And we'd only texted a little bit about this movie. We didn't really let each other know how we really felt that much. You posted about it on social media a little bit, but I mean, go ahead out with it, because I think we're on the same page.
As soon as I got done watching this, you, Brady, and I started texting, and, you know, when we talk about these things, like, we don't talk about them, actually. We go, hey, we'll save it for the show, and the first thing that I said was, I loved this movie. However, there was one major flaw that I feel like all of us are going to agree about, and absolutely it was the look of the werewolf, because with all of the money that was put into this production, with all of the things that they got right, these film studios do not understand one of two things. Either you need, if you are going to give us horror fans, which are the people that you're creating a product for and trying to appeal to, if you're going to give us a CGI creature, it has to be the best goddamn CGI ever, that we go, okay, well, that fucking makes sense, because this werewolf wasn't like the werewolf from Bad Moon. It wasn't like the werewolf in Dog Soldiers. It wasn't a werewolf that stood up, you know, on 2 feet like a man.
It's not a biped. Yeah, this one is a quadruped.
Yes, I don't know what the fuck any of that means. That's cool. That's cool that you.
it means it walks.
There you go.
On 4 feet.
Fuck, man. I'm learning. This podcast is actually a learning.
We're teaching you
teaching me
something, right?
So
we're teaching you big man words.
I get that they wanted the animal to look more animal than anything, and they were maybe thinking that, like, okay, well, if we get a guy in a suit, we're not going to be able to achieve what we're looking for. But the CGI is not good. It's not horrible, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's not the worst I've ever seen, and I have to give them some kind of props, while also being upset that they deviated so much from a classic werewolf. I mean, the thing glistens with this light white grayish texture to it.
There's no hair.
Kind of see through its skin.
Yeah.
There's no hair on it. It doesn't have like the long traditional wolf ears. It looks kind of like a wolf alien weird mutated beast thing. I don't even know how
it was like if a werewolf fucked one of the monsters from The Descent. Like, that's what this...
Oh my God, that's perfect. There it is. It's literally that. I didn't even think of that. And those monsters are fucking amazing because they're all practical dudes in suits.
The design of this werewolf is cool, but the fact that it's
interesting. But
the fact that it's CGI, it's like, okay, that looks like a video game character. You immediately, rather than me being engaged and like, oh shit, that is really gnarly and that looks really good, and most of all, that looks really scary. I'm not afraid of that because some asshole sitting on a MacBook fucking did every single frame, and I know it. So, like, I'm not afraid of it anymore. Had you put a guy in a fucking really well-done prosthetics suit, right? And even just done, if you want to do a little CGI touch-up, I'm cool with that. But
perfect. There it is.
To give us a fully CGI creature, it bummed me out, but it didn't ruin the experience for me because the story I felt like was so strong. The acting was so strong. And we got something, most importantly, really fucking original. This was a really, really original film and a new take on not only the werewolf mythology, but a new take for the werewolf genre in general. Like, I thought it was really well made, and you can tell that the people who made this, they branched out and they were trying to give us something that we hadn't gotten before.
Right, and they weren't cutting any corners, I don't think. I mean, aside from the design and the CGI, the one thing I wanted to bring up with that subject was, leading up to that moment where you first see it, the movie builds the creature fantastically. There's this awesome suspense and build-up, and you're really, like, looking around every single corner and every tree, like, where is this thing? Where is it going to attack next? What's it going to look like? I really do wish, I agree with you, that they did something a little more special in terms of that, because the rest of the movie around it really sets it up to be perfect. And I mean, even later on, this is a scene I think that all horror fans need to see this movie for. I mean, dude, there is a practical autopsy scene that is some of the coolest practical monster effects I've seen in a movie in a long time. Fucking nightmare fuel.
It was disgusting.
But for us, it's like us being kids in a candy store, and you see a full scale practical
werewolf.
It's the werewolf. I mean, you see it, what it looks like. I'm like, well, you did it there.
Yeah.
But I also understand that, you know, you're making a movie in 2022, and that the majority of audience members are going to go in, and what they're expecting to see is a CGI animal or beast or monster or what have you. So there's always that double-edged sword. How much can they do practical? I mean, because I did see a couple of shots where there was like a practical claw here and there, like, but just really, really brief, quick cuts as far as I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the movie Lamb that came out, I think it was last year, maybe.
Yep.
Dude.
A24.
Okay. They could have easily given us, because like in that movie it was a half little girl, half lamb. They could have easily just been like, CGI this motherfucker. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Instead, dude, they used puppetry. They used all different types of things to give us what looked like a real half human, half goat, or half lamb, sorry. Like, to where it's like,
that thing's a fucking
dude,
goat.
That's a damn goat lamb. But yeah, dude, like, they obviously didn't have the biggest budget in the world, and they were like, no, we're gonna do, stop motion, we're gonna do puppetry, and we will do CGI touch-ups here and there, and it looked beautiful, to where I feel like if they would have done the same thing, mix a little bit of everything to give us something unique. That is my biggest gripe of this movie. I don't have many other gripes outside of that. I mean, let's talk about the fact that, like I said earlier, fucking water werewolf, right? So it's like, after these people, they get first, it starts off with getting bitten by the silver, and then it becomes, all right, now there's a werewolf that's like picking off people. Then all of a sudden there's two werewolves because it was another person in town that gets bitten and also turns into a werewolf. But the second person, it shows what happens. They go out to this like little creek, and they have all these like weird tentacle things that are coming out of them.
That's another interesting dynamic that you see in terms of visuals, is the way that they start to turn after they get bit. It's like weird, almost look like pieces of weathered bark getting wrapped around them.
Yeah, it's like super weird. So then, like, they go out to this creek and they go into the water, and then like all of a sudden, like, they get encased, and I guess like they literally go into the inside of a werewolf and like it's almost like, think of the aliens from Independence Day, right? So like, remember the alien was like inside of that exoskeleton.
He's in a battle suit.
Yeah.
That thing's just a battle
and that's
suit,
exactly
basically. It's just a
that's
shell.
exactly what the werewolf is like the person it's not like the person transforms into the werewolf. The person like is inside of the werewolf. Like the werewolf is now controlling them, but they're on the inside. Like the host.
One of my favorite things about that practical autopsy scene I was talking about is you see an actual girl coming out of the carcass, out of this corpse of this werewolf. It's literally one of the most beautiful, haunting images I've seen in a new horror movie, and I can't even... Honestly, I'm trying to think of the last movie I saw, and I'm just at a loss for words for trying to find one. It was just an amazing practical image of the human coming out of the werewolf carcass. It was fucking beautiful.
And what's cool about that scene is that, so John McBride, played by Boyd Holbrook, he's seen this before. He's hunted down these creatures before, so he knows more than everyone else in the town. So there's like a townsperson that has a gun on, like, once they cut open the werewolf and the girl pops out and she's like, like
that's exactly how
she looks all fucking demonic, and she's like, she still has those weird tentacle things that are kind of like floating around her, and Boyd Holbrook is like, shoot her in the head. And the person's like, I know her. I've known her since she was a baby. And he's like, that's...
What an intense scene.
He was like, that's not her anymore. Like, she's been taken over by a demon. You have to kill her. Shoot her in the head. And then, like, of course, once she goes to, like, lunge for him, he finally shoots her or whatever else like that. And, like, dude, that whole scene was just superb. I mean, this is a slow burn horror film, which is... As I've gotten older, come to find out, it's like my fucking favorite, right?
Yeah, sounds like that's your favorite.
It is,
shit ever,
dude.
bro.
It is, like, because I love how the dread just mounts and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and then, like, you know, you're hoping for that payoff when you're watching a film like that. If you don't have that payoff, it's like, motherfucker, like, that could have been great. This film certainly had that payoff. You know, you've got a mother and a father that their son is missing, and then they get told, like, hey, he's a creature now. And the mom...
Your son's a fucking
Yeah,
werewolf.
the mom, like, still just wants to, like, bring my son back. Bring my son back. And there's just so much story going along with it. It's not just a quickly thrown together script with the werewolf that you're like, okay, like, here's your typical horror movie stereotypes. Like, this is a real drama. It's a real period piece. It's got all of these great things, and then all of a sudden you throw... the fact that they're being plagued by a werewolf curse in this town. It's just, for me, it's the perfect recipe for what I want in horror films, man. It's a great story, great locations, great cinematography.
Great costumes. They did the period piece perfectly, I felt.
Dude. Absolutely perfect. So for me, it was just outside of the fact that the fucking werewolf is CGI, everything else was done masterfully, and I was not let down, man. The movie ended and I was pumped. I immediately started, like, you know, if I really like a movie, typically the first thing that I'll do is I'll get on my phone and I'm like, what information can I read about this film? I need to know everything about this film. And then I just start deep diving, trying to find out facts. You know, like I saw that it was initially called 8 for Silver and some other key things. But dude, I really, really, really enjoyed this movie.
That's fantastic to hear. I mean, for me, I approached it like I do anything else, but I found myself finding that while the movie does follow similar tropes to old school classic monster movies, it did have something extremely fresh, and it had something that we don't normally see. And I really like period pieces. I've always been that guy that likes that. And to have them take it out of modern times and go back to what I think of, you know, like the Wolfman. I mean, obviously that's the 1900s, but you're thinking of, you know, horse-drawn wagons and guys on horses in the woods and fog everywhere. And that's an element of werewolf movies we haven't seen in a long, long time. And when you do it with such precision, you get really good actors, you know, really good thespians at the center, a solid story, decent dialogue, and you have fantastic suspense and build-up. You got a solid werewolf movie. And I honestly, aside from what you said already. I mean, dude, honestly, we're so used to CGI monsters that at this point, I honestly was not expecting a full-size practical werewolf anyways. I was just happy that it was an actual monster and not some weird curse thing that was just, like you said, some fucking 12-year-old kid running around with silver fangs in his mouth biting people.
Exactly. I went into this expecting not to like it. So,
right.
I was pleasantly surprised that I really liked it. Like, I did.
Yeah, and I'm hoping the trailer and the poster don't put people off. I do see some people chiming in saying they really do want to see this movie, and luckily it is getting a wide release. As of today, I checked the listings locally here in the Northern Virginia, DC area, and a lot of theaters are going to be getting this movie. So definitely,
I'm due for a date night with my wife, so I feel like I'm going to try to persuade her to go see this in a theater, because I do want to see it again, because, dude, it's a fucking...
I'd love to see it in a theater.
I'm trying to think of the last werewolf movie that I saw in theaters. Like, dude, what is the last werewolf movie you saw in theaters? Like newer one.
Well, I just
not screenings.
Yeah,
not screenings.
I was gonna say I screened the Halloween.
No, not screenings. New film.
But no, I mean, I honestly can't even think of a new werewolf movie, because I didn't see Werewolves Within, and that did not play here. And Wolf of Snow Hollow did not play here either. I had to watch a screener of that as well. So I haven't an actual werewolf movie on the big screen, a new one. You can't even tell me, dude.
Is I think the last werewolf movie I saw in theaters was Cursed, which is funny considering this movie is called The Cursed.
That is insane, but also
because, dude, they don't make werewolf movies that get theatrical releases, man. It just doesn't happen.
Honestly, the last thing I can think of is probably one of the Underworld movies, which has werewolves.
Yeah, but like I consider those like action. But I feel you.
You're right. I know. I agree with you. But I'm just saying it had a werewolf in it. But other than that, I really can't put my finger on it. But I mean, that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, with this movie. If you are a fan of old school monster movies and werewolves, I know we spoiled the entire movie for you, but that's what we do on this show for the most part. Unless it says spoiler free, we're telling you everything. But we got to get it all out, man. We got to talk about it. So definitely go see the movie in theaters. You won't be disappointed. I think overall, for what you want, is the meat there to chew on? It sure as fuck is, and it's bloody as hell.
I mean, the fact that the film studio feels so strongly about it, they're like, nah, we're doing a wide theatrical release in theaters only. Like, that's ballsy. That's really ballsy, and like, I wish that they were promoting it more, because I'm really not seeing a lot of advertisement for it. So
none at all, really. I haven't even seen a poster up in any of the theaters at all either.
No, so it's like it's concerning, and it's like, okay, well, did you just fuck yourselves by giving a wide release like this in theaters only? Like, would it have been more of a safe bet to go the streaming or VOD route?
They would have definitely made more money had they done that. But we'll have to wait and see, because, like I said, this movie has no stars. The poster sucks. The trailer was lackluster. And no one's, running out and fucking rushing to go to the theater to see a werewolf movie right now. But I mean, I think if word catches on, word of mouth, if you will, I hope that happens. And I hope this review may sway some people that were undecided on it to go check it out. Like I said, I overall had a really good time with it, and I would watch it again. And I think that's the key. Would you watch a movie again? If it's yes, then... And not just to hate on it more, or not just because you hated it the first time and you're like, oh, I just need to give it another shot. You're like, no, I really actually enjoyed that, and I'd like to see it again, like you said.
That's what I'm doing, man.
So there it is, Jeremy. Is it a trash it or treasure it? I think I know what you're going to say. But
treasure, man. I'm definitely going to treasure this one. Thoroughly enjoyable, wildly original, and just well done, man. And like I just said, I can't wait to go see it again. I'm gonna convince my wife to go, because I'd like to see this CGI werewolf on the big screen.
I'm gonna go see, honey. All I want is to see a CGI werewolf.
I gotta see that water werewolf, man.
That water thing. Yeah, for me, it's gonna be a treasure it as well. It follows a lot of the same tropes that I've seen in other monster movies, but it does it extremely well with a nice, fresh, original take on it. And again, great practical gore. I mean, aside from having the CGI monster, when you see hands or legs getting shot or chopped off or ripped off or have you, it's done beautifully. The blood splatters in spades. And that one practical autopsy scene was so amazing awesome to me. It literally brought me back to Rob Boutine's The Thing work. And you just, even though it's not quite on that level, you just don't see horror movies do it with such precision and such beauty the way this was done. It was obviously an homage, and I give them a lot of props and appreciation for that alone. So yeah, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Cursed, like I said, getting a wide release. Check on your local listings, Fandango, to see if it's in your area. Go give it a view. But hey, thanks for listening to this episode.
Get it!
Fresh Fright review. If you like what you're hearing, if you like the show, hey, Jeremy, tell them what they can do.
You can, I don't know why I always go to this voice every time you ask me.
You can,
you can leave us the review on the Spot Your Flies, Spotify, iTunes, Pornhubs. You know, you could spread I'm
pretty sure we're on
honestly
there. Yeah.
just spread the word. You know, tell your grandmas. You know, tell the lady that drives the bus down the street. Just say, hey, check out the Brain Stews. 5 stars. The show's 5 stars.
100%. We really appreciate that. We love.
I hope you know that anytime you ask me to do that, like I'm never gonna be able to do a serious one. I'm just letting you know.
I mean, honestly, that's what I expect from you. That's what our audience expects from you. I don't want you. Who would ever want you to be serious,
I'd be like,
Jeremy? Fuck out of here.
You can go on iTunes and Spotify.
Listen, you can head over to iTunes right now or Spotify, and please leave us a glowing 5-star review.
When you go to Five Guys, the burger joint, just go in the bathroom, grab your girlfriend's lipstick, write Brain Stew on the stall, pinch one off if you got to pinch one off. You know, you got to
really rad.
Got to get them Cajun fries, you know.
Ooh, those Cajun fries are delicious, but they always make me shit so fucking bad. Enough of that, though. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to this week's episode of Brain Stew. Perfect. Good.
Dude, quick one too, man.
Stop